that long day behind you. Good times lie ahead. With company worth keeping, that'll bash a smile on your head. Come on in, the door's open, you'll find just the finest folks here. Pull up a chair, grab a drink, and lend our stories your ear. Cause we're the talk the tavern. Here you're always welcome. The talk the tavern. Promising beer and bedlam. The talk the tavern. Music, medicine, then some. The talk the tavern. The song's over. Here we come.
I love how Ed is lip syncing to the whole thing when he can't actually hear any of it.
I can't hear it, so I'm just doing play that funky music, white boy. You know, I mean,
That's fair. That's fair. It's and welcome to the tavern, folks. Good to have you here. I'm Travis, and I'm drinking some. I got a very special drink tonight. It's got a demonic figure on top. Well, it's Von Payne Black. So for anybody that's actually watching the video, you can see it's got a little gargoyle pour spout. It's got a very cool bottle, kind of tombstone looking. And it's got words on the back that make sense if you have enough light to read them. Oh, it says the pleasure of pain, Von Payne Black. Blended whiskey infused with natural black currant. And speaking of black currant, what do you got, Ed?
sounds like you're putting a lot of black in you tonight, Travis.
Hell yeah, baby.
Oh,
Between this and
I am
you?
drinking. Yeah, baby. And Kevin also? Shit. It's gonna get wild.
You know what? Kevin shows up, I lose all my DNA credit that I had.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, my white guilt will wipe out any offense I'm taking.
Perhaps
I'm drinking,
taking my role as the show's token minority.
I'm drinking Macallan's 12 and water out of my Tavern Society glass. Yeah. How about you, Kev? What you got there?
I have a cafetiere tonight. I'm drinking coffee because it's 10 to 1 in the morning here in the UK. This evening I'm drinking a Japanese blend called Yushima, 5 out of 5 on the flavor profile because I like my coffee to kick my ass.
Nice.
And I will be drinking it from my Dennis the Menace #1 dad.
Yeah, hold up
Lauren.
that Dennis the Menace and tell the viewers what you told us earlier.
So I only discovered, because I read it in an article the other day, that this is not the image of Dennis the Menace that you would be familiar with in the US. That in fact, Dennis the Menace, which was published at the same time, both sides of the Atlantic, was drawn differently for the two different markets. So this is Dennis the Menace for a UK audience. It's always looked like this. It was only recently I discovered that in the American market, he's a blonde-haired boy.
Weird,
So-
right?
That is Dennis the Menace and his dog Gnasher.
Do they have Mr. Wilson and Dennis the Menace in the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. As
Okay,
far as I
right.
can make out, I mean, I didn't research it extensively, but my understanding is the story, the characters, absolutely identical. It's just that Dennis is drawn differently.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's do an opening toast. Opening toast. Considering tonight's topic is there any fucking decent fantasy on TV? Hey, here's to good stories and good characters in a time era that we fucking adore. Here's your fantasies. Pornhub.com. Oh, wow. I've never had this before. So that was my first taste. And I did that little teeny sip so you hit your palate with it so you don't shock it when you take a big drink. And you can really taste that black currant.
Yeah, you can.
Ed, hold on while I get a real drink. Okay, here I go.
I don't know if this is transferable across the Atlantic, Ed, but if you have a drink in a pub in this country and you have a dash of blackcurrant cordial in it, it's referred to as whatever the drink is and black.
Yeah.
So if someone asks me for a Guinness and black, it's
Yeah.
Guinness and blackcurrant.
Yeah.
So if you get a white Russian and black, you have Ed's dating history.
It would be a pink Russian and immediately be sequestered and shot by Putin.
Did you say pink because of communism? Anyhow, let's just
No,
move on with the other
no,
time.
communism would definitely be a red Russian.
Well,
Red
it's
Russian.
historically we would call people a commie pinko in the U.S., but
Yeah, I've heard
that's
that.
kind of 30 years past or more. It's kind of a bigoted stereotype from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, because we don't have those anymore.
Yeah. We've ran out of bigots. We have. Yeah, Ed, as a black man, you can confirm that. Let's just go on with the topic.
Yeah. They're gone.
It's so much better that you put it that way instead of "Yes, sir, there's a gone." Yeah,
And
you missed.
masa or two.
You missed an opportunity for that joke. But don't worry. With my percentage of African DNA,
Yeah, but 0.3% or something like that.
0.7.
0.7. Oh, shit, man.
Yeah, please don't hold me down.
Yeah, no, hell no. You're in the big dick zone. 0.7. Shit.
I have 0.7 of a big. Let's just move on with the topic.
Yeah.
I want to talk about if there's any decent fantasy series on television. We could head towards movies if we have it. But we've had some fantasy shows come out in the past few years. Wheel of Time, Rings of Power. So what are they calling it? Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power? Or Tolkien Rings of Power? Or what the fuck do they...
Power.
They also had Willow that came out for like 3 months before they yanked it.
I didn't see any of it. Was it worth?
I watched like the stuff prefacing it and leading up to it, and I might have started the first episode, but then they yanked it before I actually, because I try to wait till it's all out before I watch it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I never saw it anyway. But yeah, let's ask that question, gentlemen. Is there any decent fantasy that you could watch on TV, on demand, or streaming, or buy on DVD, or anything?
Do we want to end the show right now, or we want to drag this out a little bit?
Let's drag it out for at least 20 minutes. We could probably hit
Okay.
40, I bet.
Then I won't say no.
Well, you could say no and or but. It's no but, yes and, or no but.
If there are any there, I haven't seen any. I've been disappointed. I was really. I know he's not an author that you appreciate, Terry Brooks.
Yeah.
The Shannara series. Really loved his books until toward the end there. You could tell Terry was getting old toward the end there.
Right.
Okay. Really loved them. Was very excited when I heard years ago about
Shannara. Sword of Shannara.
Chronicles.
Yeah,
they were
Chronicles,
calling
yeah.
it. And it was supposed to start with the second book in the series. And very excited. And the guy that played Crixus and Spartacus. He was going to be playing Alanon. Oh, really excited now.
Right.
Big fan of his. Can't remember his name, but big fan. And
Kind of big.
loved his work. Liked his work. Okay, his name, it doesn't matter. Liked his work.
Yeah, fair.
But it came out so fucking disappointing.
Yeah, that was almost apocalyptic fantasy. Whereas in the books, he hinted that it was apocalyptic.
Right.
But it was just a hint because it was so far past the apocalypse. But this one, you felt like the apocalypse was 70, 80 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have blue jeans with their swords and wands or stuff like that.
Yeah, the costuming, and I know people always complain about costuming and almost everything, but was nothing like you imagine reading the books.
Right.
The trolls look nothing like the trolls reading the books. They're running around with fucking protective mask on, and
Yeah, they look like something out of Road Warrior.
yeah, it's like, what the fuck?
And there's graffiti everywhere, and I'm like, have you seen how fast graffiti fades? By the way, on the Isle of Wight, where I went and hung out with Kevin for a bit, there's a beautiful graffiti underpass, walk-through, alley, covered alley. What the fuck is that called, Kevin?
Yeah, underpass, I think, is an accurate phrase.
Well, in the U.S., when you have an underpass, you think of something you drive under in a car as there's a bridge over you, but this one, there's like a whole fucking building over you. Yeah, but they legally graffiti there, and there's businesses in there, and people actually have to get permission to put artwork up. You guys remember Hercules and Xena?
Yeah.
No.
I really enjoyed them when they were out. I tried watching Xena a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it has a certain cheese factor that didn't stand the test of time. But if you're with a handful of people that are of age to know it already, you can get drunk and relive it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you, Kevin? What do you think about any good fantasy shows ever?
Ever, yes, maybe if we're going back a long time, but currently I'm kind of in agreement with Ed. No, not really. I think there's multiple different reasons for it we could get into, but I think one way or another, everything that's been out, certainly in the last few years, has been disappointing in one way or another.
Right. I think Wheel of Time started reasonable. Missed a few things. Season 2 dipped really low. Season 3 started to redeem it, and then it got canceled. But I felt like it had potential to be fucking awesome.
Now, I've got theories about that one in particular.
Tell me.
So there was a lot of, if we go back to Lord of the Rings, when the news first came out, it was going to be made into movies. The initial criticism everyone had was, how do you take a story of that epic scale and ever, even if you're talking about making 3 movies, condense it down enough to get all of that in there? With Wheel of Time, you're talking about a series that's not just 1, 2, 3 books like Lord of the Rings. That's a 15-book series.
Right.
I think what happened was that inevitably you have 2 choices when you're trying to deal with something that scale. Either you cut out over half the story,
right,
in order to make it short enough to ever make to TV, or you try and stay faithful to the story, but the problem then becomes pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Because pacing when you are reading a novel at your own leisure, and pacing when you are trying to keep audience engagement up in a short soundbite with a TV program, are 2 very different things.
Yep.
And I think the reason Wheel of Time got cancelled is, like any long story, there are periods where there's a whole lot of interesting stuff going on, and then a lot of periods where you're setting up the scene, you're describing things behind, let's go and revisit this guy over here. And some of those periods, they did such a good job. I agree with you. That was one of the ones where, in terms of the promise,
right,
it was well delivered. The problem was it wasn't engaging enough for the quick fix dopamine situation most of our TV has become, and the viewer numbers and the viewer reactions to it weren't enough for the company that were making it. And they went, you know what, if people aren't loving this, we're not throwing any more money at it.
Yeah, and I get that, but I think there's a better way they could have done it while doing the same exact thing. For example, my primary complaint is Lord of the Rings. Is a 3-hour movie long enough to do one of the books? Barely. But they did a great job, all things considered. And I won't go into all the extraneous stuff that they invented and wedged in there, like love stories that weren't necessary. They might have been hinted at or suggested in the actual books, but yeah, they put that in. Okay, whatever. Folks, you don't actually have to have those Hollywood executives that are now watching our show and hanging on every word. Fucking chill. Cut it out. Let the goddamn story be the goddamn story. But anyhow, in Wheel of Time, I've always said you take a book and you turn it into a season. You now, instead of having a 2 to 3 hour window to tell your story, you have a much larger window. Right. The problem is with Wheel of Time, which are fucking huge books anyway, they turned it into an 8-hour/8 episode season instead of a 16 to 22 episode. If you took 22 hours per book, even at 40-minute episodes instead of hour-long episodes, I think you could have corrected that pacing situation by opening with a scene that is exciting. And go ahead, Ed.
No, you go ahead and finish.
Okay, and I'm almost done here. Then I'll run it right to you. You open with an exciting scene that keeps people in their goddamn seats, and then you watch where you place your fucking commercials. You come back with one of the slower scenes that's setting up the next thing, and then you end on a high point. Thus, you're engaging, you're building, then you're engaging, end of episode. They could have done this, and they could have told a whole book in more than 8 episodes and done it justice. Ed?
But could they? Would it have been kind of like what Kevin was saying though? Would you have had too many lulls in there if they'd done 20 episodes per season? And we've referenced this before on the show because back in the day, almost every show was 20 episodes per season.
Right.
Nothing is today. People want, I don't know, they want to see that instant
They are if they're putting them out on network television also.
Mm.
Then a full season is 22 to 24 episodes, depending on where the breaks fall. For, December, where they throw repeats at you, in January before they come out with the second half of the season.
Yeah.
By the way, let's give a quick shout out to our live audience there. Hello to the Scribble Desk. Good to see you. Again, I stand by, if you're going to do 40-minute episodes, 40 minutes to an hour, if you opened with an exciting, engaging scene and then moved into the slower build-up scenes and then ended with a payoff for them sitting through that, I think this would have worked. Because let's face it, the opening couple episodes aren't super fast-paced. They're engaging you with the characters. They're feeding you why you're going to like these characters. And we won't talk about what they did to Perrin. Because why was that even fucking necessary? They're all born within a week of each other. But he's already got a wife. And they're like 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Rings of Power? I see, okay, those faces say something.
I'm watching it because I'm a fan of Tolkien, but it could be better.
Kevin?
I think that Rings of Power suffers from what I'm going to colloquially call the Game of Thrones curse.
Oh, we totally forgot to talk about that one. But yeah, go ahead.
You're done yet?
Game of Thrones. Here's a really interesting thing. Whether you're a fan of the source material, you read the books or not, or whether you came to Game of Thrones on TV, having it before it started showing, everyone had the same kind of opinion with it, which is up to a certain point, right near the end, it was great. And at the end, it all tailed off and became a bit crap and a bit far-fetched.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the magic point where they stopped copying stuff that had been written and started having free reign to use Martin's notes to interpret the story themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem with Rings of Power. When Jackson made the movies, he knew that with a fan base as not massive, but as fiercely loyal as Tolkien fans,
Right.
You had to stick to that source material, and he did so. But you can argue this and that here and there, but by and large, he did an excellent job of staying true to the original story.
Yeah, 70-80% true to the story.
The problem with Rings of Power is, yes, it's based on some of Tolkien's writings, but it's not based on completed stories. It's a bit of this, a bit of that, and appendices from here. And has taken all of this information and gone, right, how can we blend this into a story that we can tell with Lord of the Rings, with The Hobbit, and build on that? And the problem is, when you start doing that, you're allowing other people outside of Tolkien's mind to interpret what they think would have happened. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't sit well with die-hard fans, because there's a nasty jarring between their storytelling and what you imagine Tolkien would have done with the same material. And there's just too many things in Rings of Power that are frustrating, inaccurate, unnecessary, that are clearly just put in because someone is trying to tick, like you said earlier, that almost like tick sheet. These are right. We must have a love interest, we must have a rivalry, we must have the... And they've tried to fit all of those things in where they didn't exist. And all they've done is create a pale, watered down version of what it could and should have been. Travis.
Here's what I'll say about Rings of Power. I watched season 1, totally didn't realize the season wasn't over. Never watched the final episode and didn't feel like I missed anything. And that should have been the climax setup. And season 2, I never even went and tried to watch it. And what do I remember about it? They had a black elf and a guy who might have been Sauron, but I don't know. He was an evil half-elf. That's like all I remember. It didn't even stick with me. But I want to talk about Game of Thrones, because here's my deal with Game of Thrones. People fucking loved it, first of all. I got through season 4 and never felt the urge to go further, which season 4 ends with the Red Wedding. And if you know, you know. Was that where George Martin hadn't written past at that point? He had written book
No,
5 past
not
that?
closer to the end.
Okay.
Had you kept watching, and again, I know this is my opinion. Other people may disagree with me. It was almost glaringly obvious at what point the actual written book stopped, and they started interpreting it from basically he gave them his notes,
Right.
because he's still the lazy bastard, has not got around to finishing it, because fuck all the people who read the books originally. I got rich off of conventions and TV series, and I'm now under no pressure to write the book. So if you really wanted to read the book,
I'm
screw you.
gonna defend him. First of all, he doesn't owe you shit. Second of all, the fucker is 77 years old. He doesn't have to write this, and he's trying to fit 3 books that he was planning into one. That's like 1,500 pages already. I'm like, just publish what you got. Just send it to a ghostwriter to clean it up. Publish what you got.
Do something with it.
Hand your notes to Brandon. Yeah.
He's not out there mountain boarding, is he?
No, but he is busy, and
He's got time.
Not a lot.
To be fair, he's not alone in the world of
No.
fantasy fiction and frustrating authors either. I'm publicly calling you out, Patrick Mithras.
Okay, he's a totally different story. First of all, his writing style is totally different. He only did 2 books that caught people's interest, and he also had a mental health issue. And
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on the guy.
by the way, I'm
hating on the fact that I loved those first 2 books.
Did you really? I didn't like him very much. Like, it was one of the ones I didn't even get through book 1. I put it down like 25% in. But I'm in a minority because there are so many people that are passionate about those books. So I'm not knocking. I'm just saying they didn't give me what I needed.
I think my frustration is not so much I'm that passionate about the particular story. It's that I hate an unfinished story.
See, Kevin, I used to have that problem too. Like, I couldn't read one book if it was a series. I had to read the whole thing, even if I didn't enjoy it. White Gold Wielder, Thomas Covenant Chronicles was one of those. I read 6 books out of that damn series and didn't enjoy any of them. But I was in my teens and had to have that completion. And now...
I feel you. I watched Godfather 3.
I'm sorry. I feel sorry for you, bro.
So...
Yeah. Speaking of fantasy.
In the past 5-6 years, we've had Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, Rings of Power. It sounds like...
What was the other?
Oh!
What was the other one with Superman?
That's not a fantasy.
Isn't that a fantasy? No. The actor that played Superman. What was the Netflix?
The Witcher.
Oh, yeah. I watched like 2-3 episodes, didn't really get into it. Women loved it, though.
I was kind of like you with the books. I watched it all just because I watched the first couple of episodes. So I got to hang in there and I'll watch it all. But yeah.
Kevin, did you watch it?
I did. Well, The Witcher, yeah.
Yeah, was it good fantasy?
Actually, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wasn't disappointed.
Okay.
But I had nothing to compare it to. Was it books or was it a comic? What's it made from?
It's originally from a computer game.
Yeah, they wrote books based after a video game, and then a series based after all of it, I guess.
See, I had nothing to compare it to, so it was okay.
Still, as a fantasy series, it's... And Kevin, when you froze for a moment, we mentioned Hercules and Xena from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
96 through 98, give or take, somewhere in there. Here's what I'm going to say. I think we can get some good fantasy, but we need to get away from the big properties.
Yeah.
We need to bring in our own properties. You know what? Make a series out of Dungeons and Dragons, the movie. Give me a series based off that and make me love the damn characters. Now, Bree here in chat says, I've personally been enjoying the Fourth Wing series, but I stopped reading it because she's taking a break from writing the series. Fourth Wing actually does have a fantasy series coming out on streaming. I think Netflix or Amazon or one of those. And it wasn't a bad book. I read most of it. Got 3/4 of the way through it before I put it down. Another one is A Court of Thorn and Roses, which I'm guessing you gentlemen have not read either of those because they're romanticy. But Andrea and I both read at least book 1 of the series, of each of the series. And there's mixed things. So there's potential there for a decent fantasy series.
Unless they fuck it up.
Well, they might, but at least they're not going to sneak in a romance B plot, because the whole fucking thing is a romance to a point. Kevin, it looked like you were about to say something 3 times, and I would have shut up.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what you said because it's something I was kind of alluding to, and I agree with that. Part of the problem is trying to take on these monster epic tales,
Right.
where you have so much information to try and condense down into a TV format. What was interesting to me, and we mentioned briefly when we were chatting before we started off air, we said we weren't going to go into movies, but you gave the example of Dungeons and Dragons, and I think that's a great example because although you would say, well, surely there's nothing more massive than Dungeons and Dragons, but the point is it's so massive and encompasses so much that it's then very easy to dip in and take a little bit here or a little bit
right.
there. You don't have to try and tell the story of Dungeons and Dragons.
It's also not one story. It's not a specific story. It's a million stories. And you get to make up your own, and you get to make these characters that you can make it a personal story.
I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 has been unique and groundbreaking in terms of its not just its success as a computer game, but its popularity with the gaming community and the Dungeons & Dragons community at large. And it's precisely for that. You can replay that game, as I have, 12 times, and every single time is different. It's the same basic backstory, but yeah, there's an awful lot of adaptability in there. And therefore, when you're talking about converting to TV medium, it gives you scope to do almost anything within that universe. You're not sticking to a predetermined linear timeline or story.
Here's what I'll say. Whatever they do next, they need to make you love the characters more than the story. Because then when the story happens, you care about the characters enough to stick around to find out what happened. If you have this epic story, but you don't give a fuck. You know what? If Frodo and Samwise weren't so goddamn likable, and Aragorn wasn't so noble, and Gandalf so mysterious, we would have never stuck it through 3 movies.
No.
But they got good actors that gave you a fully built character that you went, I get this guy. Ooh, I'm curious about this guy. Or, what a hunk, Gandalf. But you see the size of his staff. But yeah, they're not giving us characters to hold on to. And this was actually, now I've read all the Game of Thrones books that have come out. The story of Ice and Fire. His character cast, even in book 1, is massive. As you keep going on, it just gets bigger and bigger till you're not reading one story. You're reading 15, 20 or more stories that intertwine and interact. And maybe that's amazing, but for a television show, that's way too much to keep you grounded in a character that you care about, especially with George R.R. Martin. And he's like, here's a character you love, let's kill that. Which he doesn't do with all of them, but he does with enough primary characters that you've grown attached to still have that shock.
But yeah, because that's real life.
Right.
That's real life.
Right. You know how many people I've loved that have died? All of them.
Yeah. Note, Ed, that you and I are still alive and clearly not on that list.
Pastor hates us.
You're welcome, assholes. So this is what I think will make a good fantasy series, is you got to give us characters we can attach to. For example, if we took the Dungeons and Dragons movie that just came out 2.5 years ago, whatever it was, and converted that to the small screen for a series, we don't have a level of expectation. I guess we would, because like the movie showed us classic Dungeons and Dragons monsters, a gelatinous cube, a mimic, an owlbear, and a few others that we were just like, oh my god, it's so great to see this on the screen. And the other movies just showed us dragons. Oh wait, they did have a dragon in this one, but he was a fat dragon, and that was incredible. So, but we had broken characters that we cared about and we were curious about and we rooted for because they were the underdogs. And Wheel of Time started that with season 1, but couldn't go long enough to even give you half the book in the season.
or half the character development.
That's true.
With that long series, Perrin being a classic example.
I think
Perrin,
Matt.
Well, Matt Cawthon as well, yeah. But both of those characters at the start of that, they're engaging characters. There's
Right.
plenty to like about them. You know, it's not difficult to want to know what happens to them.
Yeah.
But it's not until Matt begins to go mad, Perrin becomes Golden Eyes, then those characters really
Right.
spring to life as something that's incredibly engaging.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of what they were missing.
Well, I think in season 1 and 2, until these things triggered in season 3, they could have purposely made those guys second bananas to Rand. Now, I think it was important that they made Nynaeve and Egwene important right away also. But I think they could have made those two very background, very second banana, very colorful behind them. And then when they went off on their own and pulled away from him forcibly, like they had to do, then they explode into their own storyline. So I agree with you, and I think they could have kept him minor, but Matt, they did him dirty from the beginning. Like the first 2-3 episodes, you're like, oh, he's a scamp, I'm okay with this, and then they just made him drunk and angry.
Yeah.
And I don't ever remember him being drunk and angry till after he had his major life event that set him on that path. When he went through the arches, and for anybody who's watched the series, you're not getting more, so this is not even a spoiler. Read a book. And he got hung, and he started wearing the scarf to cover the markings on his neck.
Right.
And then he got drunk and angry. And when this happened in the series, I'm just like, why is he pissy? He's been on the greatest adventure in his life. Okay, I mean, the Dark Dagger influence, but we kind of glossed over that, didn't we? We just like,
yeah.
oh,
It wasn't done well at all.
yeah, he's broken. He'll be unconscious 3 episodes. Then he's all better. Now he's drunk and pissed because he can understand old languages. What? So yeah, I agree, Kevin. There was a lot more there in him and Perrin. But I think if they want to move it forward, they need to grab lesser known properties, franchises. And I'm going to do this. Like you find a good author who's not well known, and you take that risk and you grab what is a great story and you put it out there. By the way, Matt Denneman, Dungeon Crawler Carl, is also being developed into a series. And considering he is still current and moving his stuff forward, they better do that justice. And Brandon Sanderson, with some of his stuff, is getting series. Ed, were you going to say something?
Well, really, really quick, because
Yeah.
I want to take this in a different direction just for a bit here, and we may get way off. Historical fantasy, King Arthur. How many fucking King Arthur movies have
Oh
they
my
made?
God, Robin
When
Hood.
the hell are they? When the hell are they going to make a good one?
Yeah, like
Every time I hear one's coming out, I was like, I'm excited. Okay, another King Arthur movie. They're going to get it right this time. Nope. I have to say, Mist of Babylon, I did enjoy that, but other than that,
but that was based after a book.
yeah,
That wasn't a King Arthur book. And Robin Hood's another great example. Like I'm fond of the one from the 80s with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman.
sure, yeah, that. Yeah.
But I'm not
Because
saying
of
it's a
what it
good.
is.
Well, I mean, come on. Little John was great. Friar Tuck was great. Will Scarlet with the angry Christian Slater coming right off of Heathers.
The Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Come on. Alan Rickman as Sheriff of Nottingham was beautiful. So even if you're like, well, was that Robin Hood or not? Why are they
No,
living
but
in
it
the?
was good.
They were living in an Ewok village in the trees,
But that just proves the point of what you were saying a minute ago, Travis, which is, okay, was it the greatest Robin Hood story ever? Probably not. Certainly wasn't the most accurate. But people still talk about it and remember it now because
Right.
it was great characters.
Right.
Right.
And good casting, more importantly. And I think those two have to go hand in
Yeah.
hand. It's no good having a great character storyline if you don't have a great actor to portray it.
Actually,
Hence,
I think that's why Wheel of Time truly failed, because they had good casting, at least good, if not great. Because like Moraine, was great casting. Rosamund Pike and then the guy who played Lan, unexpected casting for me, but I liked what he did with it. And you had these characters that you're like, okay, I could get into this, and then they like short sheeted that bed. And then they tried to bring it back, and you're like, okay, I'm running hot and cold here. Hey, as much as I love to see some boobies and women kissing, like when Elaine Trekand is making out with one of the people from the Waste, one of the chicks from the Waste, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yay, but is this necessary? What are we doing here? I mean, that's hot. Oh, they're just kissing. No, the scene is done. There's not even a payoff for it. Why was this necessary to the story?
It wasn't.
Well,
it never is.
I think what that was, Kevin.
Very rarely is.
I think what that was is they were setting it up for the future when the three women and Rand, they're like, well, the women are into each other also, so it's okay if he has 3 wives.
Maybe.
I don't know. That's all I got for that one. Yeah. We need good characters that we care about. Then we'll care about the story after that. Any closing thoughts on this one, guys?
I think Ed made a really good point earlier on about giving lesser well-known but popular fantasy stories a shot. Because I think one of the biggest problems is that everybody wants to take the big notorious classics because they think that automatically gives you a straight tie-in to a large audience base who are going to want to watch it. But that comes with its own perils because you screw it up, you lose that entire audience.
Right.
There's very few people who never read Lord of the Rings who, okay, you might have gone to the cinema and seen the movies because they were so big at the time, you might have watched them on DVD, but I guarantee you not so many of those people also wanted to tune in and watch Rings of Power.
Right.
It's a lot of Tolkien fans doing that.
Right.
With a lesser known story, if you're not 100% faithful, if you alter a few details, if something's not quite right, you don't have that same risk of immediately alienating the entire fan base of the show.
Right. This is something...
There are some brilliant stories out there that have never achieved that level of notoriety, but are well enough known in the fantasy community. You could go to anybody who reads large amounts of fantasy and go, who's top 10 and who's not, and they'll answer you like that.
I'm going to make a parallel for you.
Well, they should check out some of the stories from this Travis Sivart fella and make something out of that.
I tell you what, when I wrote those, knowing the streaming culture, I specifically wrote them so they would fit if somebody wanted to translate it from a book to a streaming series. But if you want comparisons, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. Great fucking movie. Because we had no expectation. Sure, people had heard of them that read the comics. Peacemaker and Suicide Squad and those characters in there. We've heard of them, but we're not invested in them. So you could take this and make it your own without pissing off the fandom. I mean, there's like 3 people that are hot for it, and the rest are like, well, I'm curious because I know who these are, sort of. And the same thing could be done with fantasy. If you grab somebody that has a moderate amount of fan base, you're going to get your initial thrust of interest. You know what? We could talk about? Spiderwick Chronicles had a series. Percy Jackson had a series. And for movies, there was also like Lock and Key series. And what is it? Bone and Dust had a series on Netflix. Am I thinking of the right title there? With the dark Shadowland they had to cross through on the ship.
Yeah. I know the series you're talking about. I'm not sure the title's 100% accurate. But again, see, I hadn't read those books. I was aware they existed, hadn't read the books, watched that TV series, really liked it.
Right. Same. But with the series, I didn't even get through season 1 before I'm like, I could take it or leave it. Because they were pushing a romantic thread. And it was all about boy meets girl as opposed to a character struggling against something that's relatable with an epic overshadow. They just went straight for the big thing. Bone and Shadow. Thank you, Bree. Bree says, I only read the first book of Bone and Shadow or whatever, but never finished the series. Same thing. And there's a reason it was canceled after 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I watched both.
Yeah. Go take a lesson from Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes series. Here, they took a classic character, made it their own, and oh my god, did we love it. Anyhow, we'll wrap this up. Here's to the hopes we get some decent fantasy at some point in time. We say doubtingly. Okay, guys, I'm going to roll the outro music here. So I want to thank everybody for coming along and joining us on this. You can send us your thoughts at talkofthetavern@gmail.com and at TravisSivart.com. You can find some of these books we're talking about that I wrote, as well as past episodes of Talk of the Tavern. So, go check it out, and we will catch you guys next show.